WrestleMania 36, the first ever Pirate Mania, is live April 5th. And I know we've kind of been off for a few weeks, and I'll explain that briefly before we continue. First of all, with the holidays being what they were, you work a couple night shifts, and then with wrestling being on every night, you forget that, oh, this show's there, I'll watch it later. Oh, this show's coming up tomorrow, I'll watch it later because I gotta watch the show before. And then you go in eventually into what becomes a multi-week backlog of shows. If there was one thing about wrestling being on every night of the week, almost every night of the week now, because of a lot has changed since we've been gone, and we'll get to that in a little bit as well, at a later time. With, of course, Access TV kicking New Japan off their show because Anthem has a majority of it. We had a new world champion in a certain promotion, which we'll talk about when the time comes, and several other things that if we talked about them now, we'd be here all day. But basically, around the time of November, around the time of December, especially since Impact taped stuff in advance, we couldn't talk about certain matches, kind of created the perfect storm of something going on. And plus, of course, being out of the weather, as flu season is that time of year. And of course, with coronavirus, I don't have it, thankfully. But, just trying to get well, the last thing to leave is that cough. And if you know what I'm talking about if you were suffered either from some kind of flu, some kind of allergies mixed with a cough, mixed with a sore throat, mixed with everything else, or just anything like that. You know that the cough is the last thing to go, and it's still there. And if I cough a couple times, I do apologize for that because it is still there. Not as bad as it was, but still there nonetheless. In any event, we did get caught up eventually towards the Rumble. Didn't have time to record though. Predictions for the Rumble, predictions for Hard to Kill, predictions for NWA's Hard Times, and the pay-per-view before that, or TLC, if I'm remembering correctly. Nonetheless, we continue, life goes on, and we keep going. And what a way to come back, first of all, with WrestleMania around the corner. The winner of the Royal Rumble, the Men's Royal Rumble, Drew McIntyre, will face the man he eliminated at the Royal Rumble, the WWE Champion Brock Lesnar, at WrestleMania for the title. And ironically, Brock has been on every Raw of 2020. Believe it or not, the streak, as of last night, still lives. I don't know if that'll happen every Monday after, but it's an interesting side note that Brock has been on every Raw in some capacity since, not even after he won the title, but since last year, let alone the beginning of this year in January and now in the February. Interesting kind of thing to happen there, which means he'll probably, once he loses the belt to McIntyre, more than likely, which I'm thinking will happen, he'll be gone till SummerSlam. But there is something that will sidetrack that. We'll get to that at a later date. But this is different because over a decade ago, those that may not remember, Drew was chosen by the chairman of the board, Vince McMahon, the now leader of the XFL, which will come up beginning this Saturday with this Week 1 games. Not even a preseason, I don't believe it, just going straight to Week 1. Vince originally had McIntyre as the chosen one to where he basically couldn't lose, basically had everything he could have, basically a silver spoon in his mouth, but the talent to back it up, along with the chairman in his back pocket, eventually becoming free MB. We all know how that went, going on the indies, reinventing himself to where he was a massive star in the new NXT. Kind of one of the only stars you think about to be a part of WWE's developmental system in a way, to where he was a part of, I believe it was part of Deep South as well. But what I do know for sure, one of the only stars to be a part of FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling, before it became NXT, and now what has become NXT, as well as NXT UK in some capacities. To now regaining that chosen one status, regaining what was. And, it's a hell of a moment. It's a moment that needs to happen for Drew. It's been long overdue, and I feel Drew McIntyre will become the WWE champion. There is one thing we do need to talk about, and what will Charlotte challenge for the quote-unquote NXT championship, which I will not refer to often as that, because we'll be confusing towards TakeOver season in a couple weeks. But with that being said, WrestleMania is about 60 days away, and we'll just see what happens, because this is the beginning of something special.